Who has been the best player at every championship club this season? Well, in today's video, we're going to be exploring that topic and trying to build the ultimate championship squad in the process. Now, shout out to James Lawrence Alcott, who did a similar video to this based on the Premier League a few days ago. Really interesting concept that I thought would work for the championship here. For today's video, we're going to be going over each championship squad, picking out who have been their best players so far this season, and then trying to build the ultimate championship squad of 24 players made up of one player from each championship club. So with those rules in place, you've got to be quite strategic with who you pick from each championship club. It's not always necessarily going to be their best player who makes it into the team. It might just be a position where there's a shortage of quality elsewhere. So what I've gone ahead and done is I've put together a spreadsheet of each championship club and their most used 11 so far this season to help us scope how we're going to go ahead and build this team. Then what I've gone ahead and done is to narrow down the quality in each position. I've picked out some honourable mentions for who's been each championship club's best player so far this season. Now, in some cases, I've only highlighted one player where I think there is an outstanding candidate. For example, Blackburn, it's obvious their best player this season has been Sammy Smodics, and he will be the Blackburn player going into this squad of 24. But some other teams, it's maybe a little bit more murky. Leeds, for example, I think you could argue Joe Rodon, Ethan Ampadu, Jorginho Rutter or Crescencio Somerville have been amongst their best players this season. They've had so many top performers. But generally speaking, this is how I'm going to be building this squad and how I'm going to be trying to select players from each team. We'll start out with the goalkeeping positions. So we need 2 goalkeepers to go into this squad of 24. The ones that were under consideration for me, I had Vladislav Hlagli at Ipswich, who I think has been really solid. Hermansen at Leicester City, arguably been the best goalkeeper in the league this season. Great distribution, shot stopping numbers have been really strong as well. But in saying that, I think I'd rather save my Leicester pick for later in the video. So I think as good as he's been, I'll probably be looking elsewhere for my goalkeeping options. Alex Palmer, absolutely brilliant for West Brom this season as well. But likewise, I think I'll be looking elsewhere for my West Brom picks. And then I was sort of left with Carl Rushworth at Swansea and Victor Johansson at Rotherham. And for me personally, I think those 2 players are the most sensible picks for the goalkeeping position. Rushworth at Swansea, absolutely fantastic. Definitely been among their most consistent performers this season. And in what's been a really miserable season for Rotherham, Johansson has been one of their top performers once again. Had it not been for him, they'd have conceded a hell of a lot more goals. So for me personally, I would have Rushworth and Johansson in as my 2 goalkeepers. I think that's quite sensible to start out their squad like that. Right back is an interesting one, and this could get people talking. The ones that I've highlighted up for debate in this one is Perry and G. I've got Vanujic at Coventry, Ryan Leonard at Millwall, who I think has been really solid, Kyle Walker-Peters and Trey Hume as well. For me personally, Kyle Walker-Peters has been the outstanding right back in the Championship this season, but I'm tempted to save my Southampton pick for later in the video. If I put Walker-Peters into this team, it means I can't squeeze Adam Armstrong in there, and he's been fantastic. You know, which way do I go for this? Southampton fans, who would you have in this team, Walker-Peters or Adam Armstrong? The first right back I am going to put in, I think, is Perry and G. I think looking at the other options I've got in there for Cardiff, it makes the most sense to go for him. I think he's been one of the most consistent fullbacks in the Championship this season. Underlying numbers, as they always are, really strong. And other options at Cardiff being Siopis maybe or Gutas. I think NG is a sensible pick in that position, but we'll come back to the other right back spot later. Centre halves, a few of these do pick themselves. I think Cedric Kipre goes in as the first centre-half, no doubt about that. I think he's been West Brom's best player this season, so an obvious pick for the Baggies right there. Wesley Hope, I think, probably been Watford's best player this season. I think he goes in as another centre-back option as well, so we've already got 2 centre-halves in the side then. Then things start to get a little bit more tricky because I think Dan Ballard would be a valid shout, but by including him, it means you can't get Jack Clark in later in the video. I think that Vestergaard's a good shout, but do I want to waste my Leicester pick on him? The two Leeds defenders have been amongst the best in the league this season, but I want to get Somerville in there somehow. Maybe a bit of an unpopular opinion, but for me personally, I'm putting Jacob Greaves into this side. I know it means that we can't include Jin Philogene, and he's been absolutely brilliant this season, but Jacob Greaves for consistency, one of the best players I've seen come to Deepdale this season. I think he has been among the best defenders in the league. I'm going to use my whole spot on Jacob Greaves, I think. The last one is really difficult to pick. I think Hellick is maybe the way to go here. But in saying that, I'd quite like Sorba Thomas in this team as well. I'll save that last centre-half pick for now. Liam Lindsay, another good shout at Preston. When looking into the options for left-back, there's not actually as many as maybe you'd think there would be. I've only highlighted 3 here who are potentially up for selection. I think Leif Davis goes in there straight away. Don't get me wrong, Ipswich have had other really good performers who are worth a mention in this one, but in terms of quality left-backs this season, he's obviously been the best in the league. Creative numbers have been an absolute joke. It's then just a question of who goes in as the other left-back in this side. I think that Lee Buchanan, you'd argue, has been amongst Blue's most consistent performers this season, and maybe one that goes under the radar a little bit, Cam Pring at Bristol City. I think that if you're not watching Bristol City week in, week out, he's not always a player who maybe gets the recognition he deserves, but underlying numbers have been really solid this season, and considering the other options I've got to pick from at Bristol City, while he's maybe not been their best player this season, I think I'm going to go in as Pring is that other left-back choice, and we're starting to build things here. So I picked 8 players for this squad so far, and up until this point we've used the Rotherham, Swansea, Cardiff, West Brom, Watford, Hull, Ipswich and Bristol City spots. Still got another right back and centre half to pick, but moving on into the midfield, I think this is looking quite healthy right now. Now midfield is where we get into a whole lot of competition. So many quality midfielders in the Championship this season and a lot of avenues to go down with this pick. Defensive midfield, I have highlighted quite a few options who I think are up for selection here. The first one I'm going to go with, him. It's Ben Sheaf, the obvious one that I am looking towards, but it then means I can't go with Van Ujic as that other right back or Haji Wright as one of the forward options as well. But I do think Ben Sheaf has been the outstanding DM in the league this season, arguably along with Sam Morsey, but I can't pick him because I've already got Leif Davis in the squad. So I'm happy with Ben Sheaf. I think he's continually got better throughout his career at Coventry, and this has probably been his most consistent season yet. That other DM spot we'll leave blank for the time being because I'm between quite a few options there. Kenny McLean, someone at Norwich who I don't think gets the recognition from people outside of Norwich enough, but can I really select him over someone like a Gabriel Sarra, a Johnny Rowe or a Josh Sargent? I'm not sure. In terms of the centre mid spots, I think Wouter Berger goes in there. No question about that for me. He's been Stoke's best player this season. Can chuck him in either of those spots, I suppose. DM or centre mid, it doesn't matter. But yeah, for me, Stoke's outstanding player this season. He definitely has a place in this squad. Goes without saying that one of the attacking mid roles goes to Sammy Smodics. Up there as one of the best players in the Championship this season, leading the race for the Golden Boot. Considering all the struggles that Rovers have had this season, he's been an absolute joke. I also think I'm going to use my Leicester pick on Kiernan Dewsbury Hall. I think he has been their best player this season, certainly in terms of the goal contributions return coming up in big moments and just how many points he's won for that side this season. I know that I'm then ruling out the Vestergaard, Winks or Mavididi picks, but I think Dewsbury Hall has been better than all of those players. Another player who picks himself, I think, is Morgan Whittaker at Plymouth. Obviously been their best player this season, touching 20 goals for a side that's been in and around the relegation battle is mightily impressive, especially considering it's been his first full proper season in the Championship as well. The left wing spots, we do have a lot of competition. Somerville has to be in there though. I think he has been the best player in the Championship for me personally. And I know that I'm ruling out a lot of other quality Leeds players there who won't then get into this squad, but Somerville, he's just a game changer, isn't he? He backs it up with end product as well. So as good as Rutter is to watch on the eye maybe, I think that Somerville has just had more output this season. So as things stand, that is how the squad is sort of shaping up. I'm liking the look of it so far, but we've still got a few gaps to plug. I do think my Sunderland spot has to be used on Jack Clarke. He's going in as the other left wing option. Him and Somerville, what a combo that'd be. I'm snubbing some big names there. Obviously, Johnny Rowe, who has been fantastic. And I think that as that's the case, I do think I'm going to go for Gabriel Sara as my Norwich pick. It's then between him and Josh Sargent. Just think that Sargent, with missing that chunk of the season, how instrumental Sara has been from a creative point of view to that Norwich side this season. I've got to go in for him. The more I look at the strikers that we've got available to us as well, the more I think there's a potential lack of quality in that area, and the more it makes me want to stick Adam Armstrong in as one of those strikers, which does then mean we can't stick Kyle Walker-Peters in as one of the right backs. But Adam Armstrong's output this season, whether he's played as a number 9 or he's played out wide, has been absolutely ridiculous. And I think that with the amount of goal contributions, it would be a shame not to have him in this squad. Going back to that right back position then, we've already used a Coventry player, so we can't include Van Ujic. We've already included a Sunderland player, so it can't be Hume. Already Southampton as well, so it can't be Walker-Peters. So I think that Ryan Leonard does get that other right back spot. And you know what? I'm not mad with that. I think he has been amongst Millwall's most consistent performers this season. Very versatile as well. Having Ng and Leonard in that position, I'm happy with. I think as the other centre-half option, I'm going to go with Steve Cook. Pleasantly surprised, actually, by how good he's been this season. I think if you look into QPR's record when Cook has started compared to when he's not been in that side this season, they've been a far better defensive unit with him in the team, obviously. A big part of what Marty Cifuentes has done with that squad is make them a lot more defensively solid. So I think that Cook going in as the QPR player makes sense into this squad. What that then does is it maybe allows me to stick in Sorba Thomas as one of the options on the wing. It feels harsh not having Hellick in there because he's been such a output machine from the back for Huddersfield, but including Sorba Thomas as the Huddersfield pick, I'm not mad with. I'm fairly happy with how that starts to shape up. And then we've got 2 other positions to fill before we then get into our 2 other extra picks, if you will, to top up the squad of 24. And I'm between a few different things at the moment. We've got another striker spot open and another DM spot as well. I could easily throw someone like Alan Brown in there, who's been really good this season. Likewise, Johnny Howson, I think, would be a fair pick. Still need to get a Sheffield Wednesday player in there as well, so Will Vokes, I think, would be a sensible option. Still got my Birmingham pick available to me as well, so I could go in for Bacuna or Stansfield as that extra striker as well. For me personally, Latte Lath's been really good of late. In the last few months, he's really come into his own, but I think I'm picking Johnny Howson as Borough's best player this season. I think I'm throwing him in as that extra DM, and then that opens a spot maybe to use the Sheffield Wednesday pick as Ugbo, who's been really good for them since January. He's scored a lot of important goals for them. And then my extra 2 picks, which I'm allowed, I've not used a Preston player yet. For me personally, I'd say Alan Brown's been our best player this season, so I'd throw him in as an extra option in midfield into this squad. And then I'll probably further boost that midfield by using my extra Birmingham pick as Bacuna as well. And so there is how the squad's sort of shaping up for me personally. So using 1 player from every championship club, this is the ultimate squad that I've managed to come up with. My 2 goalkeepers, I've got Rushworth and Johansson. As right back options, I've got Perry and G and Ryan Leonard. Centre halves, I've got Kipray, Hote, Greaves and Cook. As my left backs, I've got Leif Davis and Cam Pring. As my DM options, I've got Ben Sheaf and Johnny Howson. Midfield, I've got Gabriel Sara, Walter Berger, Alan Brown, Sammy Smodics, Kiernan Drewsbury Hall. And then Bacuna at Birmingham, I think is a sensible pick as that last midfield option as well. Two right wingers, I've got Whittaker and Thomas. On the left, I've got Somerville and Clark. And then strikers, I've got Adam Armstrong and Ugbo. Overall, I think I'm fairly happy with that. What do you guys think though? Can you build a better championship squad than me? Let me know down below. Other than that though guys, that will wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you did go to enjoy, make sure to leave a like. I'll see you all in the next one.